What's up everyone? I took a small break from shooting any videos because I had my second dose of the vaccine on Thursday, and I have to say that it like really showed its effects on me. So I had 2 days like pretty severe fever and stuff like that, but I'm all good now, feeling great. So ready to tour now, ready to travel, and yeah. So I actually had 2 requests to sort of describe, analyze, let's say, Alors or Danse. Alors on danse en français. Yeah, I mean it's not a super difficult piece in terms of arranging, definitely not in terms of arranging, and in terms of playing it's obviously difficult, but far from anything craziest. But that doesn't mean it doesn't deserve a proper video. So this is gonna be more of like a tutorial slash description rather than just analysis, because analyzing this sort of stuff doesn't make much sense. I mean, I will talk about it, but it's a bit more straightforward than other stuff. So it's in G minor open, and immediately the reason I pick G minor open is because I know I'm going to need notes below the tonic, below the key of the song. So the key is G. Really, it's not even G. That's the key, and that's gonna be C. But basically, you start off at G, right? It's a G here. Yeah. And I knew that I would need these nice low notes because of how the song is structured. I just figured that. But really, it's a matter of, here is just a sort of choice. I think any tuning could work. So I chose G minor open. Yeah, and I started off by arranging the main riff, which is you should know everything right now. In like, I'm holding my hand nice and straight here, or this way, not this way. I'm attacking the string from the top, not like this, right? Like this. You know all of those things. In this case, you can see that basically my fingers play the same notes as they fret. So my 4th finger is playing here, my 2nd finger is playing here. I don't move my hand at all. My wrist literally does not move. Right? If I were to play with different fingers, it would have to like jump here or here or here or here. I don't want to do anything. I just want to keep it in one place. So that's what I do. And I bend the strings because it just adds nice character, right? So it's pretty hard to bend the string far if you're just tapping. But actually that doesn't matter, because we don't want to bend it too strong, because it's just a nice melody. So just small. If I play it without any bends, it sounds like this. Which is boring. And now obviously it's better. Sorry, I'm playing too fast. So I play slowly for you the next part, which is I kind of like how it sounds slow. It's like badass, So the way I arranged this was very natural, so I wasn't thinking about playing this rhythm. By the way, this rhythm is not the same as in the original. The original just goes, which is super boring and not interesting at all. So I changed it, and I basically play each time I don't play a tap note, I do something here, right? So obviously the kick is on 1, so that doesn't change. But then everything else, the scratch here, those little taps, everything is in between me playing those notes. So you can notice So every single hit except the kick is happening in between my tapping, and this way it basically creates this really nice driving rhythm. It's really not boring, it's very interesting. It sounds very complex, it's not too complex, but it sounds very sort of like layered. It's like I'm doing so much, but really it's only playing between the gaps of my tapping. But I didn't think about it, arranging it, I just played it because it sounded nice. But yeah, if you are practicing this sort of thing, you practice it together. You don't play, you don't do that because that doesn't make sense. So together. Yeah. Rather, so I started off the same as before, right? It's exactly the same, and then I obviously changed it for the melody. The goal here is that when you're sort of going high, you want it to feel like it sort of escapes, but then it comes right back because it's the same note. So it's like you did this, right? Right. So when I come back, but you just go with this note, same note, but on a different string, because it's it's easier to play. So you just sort of just pull it off suddenly, right? Don't do it. Don't just keep on going. Right? And sort of pull off here, obviously. Obviously here it becomes a bit more complex. Here it's the coolest part of the beginning of the track. It's, I think, the most eye-catching because you're very clearly playing two things at the same time. But again, what I say all the time is that you shouldn't think about it as two different things, because you can't do that basically. Like, you're not going to be able to think about these melodies as separate things in your brain. You just want to think of one general idea. So how I learned it, I actually also had some trouble playing it at first. I just couldn't play it super naturally immediately. So when I was practicing, I was just looking at the sheet music and listening to the original, and I was basically just comparing when this melody hits in regard, in relatively to the bass melody. So here, I noticed that obviously the first hit is easy, but then I noticed that this note is hitting on the same time as this note, and then another one, right? So I had this down because I explained to myself. So it's together, and then offbeat. So right, all together and then another offbeat. So it's all relative. You sort of figure out how they work relative to each other, and after you know the correlation they have, then it's a lot easier to play because it all makes sense. Before you play anything, you have to know what you're playing, and this is the way you familiarize yourself with that. So slowly, again, together, right? So I know it's together, so I have another note. Not together, right? So I know now that the second note is not gonna happen at the same time as my bass. So it all it's a step-by-step process. In fact, no other note happens at the same time. So that's pretty easy, right? So, I mean, it's not easy, but that's logically, I know it. So if I play it very slowly, I can always get it because I know that it's gonna happen at this point rather than something else. there's no, like, you don't practice them separately. There's no, you know, magical way of learning sort of polyrhythmic patterns. This isn't a polyrhythm, but it's sort of like a multiple rhythms happening at once. There's no way of doing that other than just playing this. But first you need to know exactly the relationship that is between these two things, right? So you can also notice me that sometimes I'll do this little tap here, like, right? Just because it's a nice sound, but also because, maybe just because that, no, but I think that also helps me basically rhythmically, it helps me mark a nice point. Right, so it sort of helps me a little bit. It also sounds very nice, it adds this little layer of snare, right? The 13th fret, by the way, here. Also with my left hand, I'm never really holding the notes legato. It's all very staccato, which means that I basically play the notes shortly, right? So I play it and then it's gone. It's not, I don't hold it like this because it's not, the original doesn't have that, and also it becomes chaotic if I did. But like here, it's a very dissonant chord, so I just play staccato. This way it sounds more like the original, of course, like it's an easy choice immediately because you hear how you're supposed to play it and immediately it's... When you tap with your right hand, you should have nails. I don't know if you do, maybe you don't. I mean, it's not like you should have nails, but I have nails. And you can't tap it like this, obviously. There's no way of approaching the string in this way, in sort of more vertical, it's a funny movement, it's the more 90-degree way. So you have to do it more like horizontally, like this. So you're sort of a little pillow on the top of your finger, like the fingertip, I guess. It hits it nicely horizontally, like that. So it's the opposite basically of what you do with your left hand, where it's more vertical. Here it's more horizontal. So you basically just put your fingers like that, you know, it's like a very flat. Yeah. 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 First, when you practice this, if you want to learn this track, you probably shouldn't be sliding off too much. You can just play this. Right? Because if you slide off, maybe it's harder to get back, right? So you can leave that for later. Just play. And then, once you master this, you can go to... And then it's... I mean, nothing really to show here. I can play it slowly for you. Nice triplets. Like a bongo sort of pattern, you know? Like that, like in reggaeton and in reggae, you have these sort of transitions like right, and it's the same here. That's where I got it from. This one is really nice. Like you should use just your fingertip, not your whole palm, because it's a bit too. It's gonna mute the guitar, but just your fingertip. It's gonna sound more like a bongo. Not. That's weird. That's nice. seem scary. It might seem like it's something else happening, like it's a new moment, it's going to be another thing to learn. But the nice thing here is that the percussion actually is exactly the same as at the beginning. The only difference is I don't play it here, I play it here. Right? So I do the same exact movements, exactly the same, just here. And this place in general is a lot more strong, like this kick is stronger, this snare is stronger, these are stronger taps than here. So I just moved the percussion here to have it more like sort of more like a rough and firm sound, but it doesn't change the technique at all. Right? Same exact thing, so nothing changes here. The left hand does change, so it's, let me just play it. Yeah, but again, it's the same rhythm, right? So you don't gotta change the rhythm. The difference here is that from here, you don't go here, you go here. And the only reason I did this is because you can then slide off to the 8th fret. And you don't play this, you don't play it all tapping, like... No, you do not. That's not good, because it's way too staccato now. It sounds like really robotic and right? That's not nice. So what I did was so in order to slide really strong, you can hear that it's a slide. I don't even touch the guitar, but it's so audible because basically I'm just hitting it very hard. So the first hit is super hard. The second one is not as hard, but because the first one was very loud, it's also going to be very audible, right? You just practice this, too, because I know that it's quite difficult at first to get these really loud slides. So just play this. Over and over. Watch TV or something. Or maybe practice this. Now I look like a hypocrite because I tell you to practice percussion in the same time as this, but it's a bit different here because really if you just practice this alone and then practice this with the percussion, that's fine. You just don't want to practice this and then practice only the percussion and then think that it's going to work together. That will not happen. So you can practice anything individually, it's just that will not give you any advantage in playing it together. In this case, the advantage to just playing this is basically you just learn, your fingers learn the technique for sliding and for tapping hard. So it makes sense, yeah. Same thing at the end, right? This is especially hard because it's a very long way. It's 7 frets. So you need to have very good aim, like sniper aim, because you're going from 12 really fast to the 5th fret. So it's also something to practice, just doing like, let me think, like this. With a metronome, like. Slower, right? You don't have to do this, don't do this, there's no point to that. Just put a metronome on and then you need need to always aim very well to the 5th fret, right? Look at that, see it? Now I got it wrong. And then it sort of changes. Sorry. Let me just think. I don't know which part it is at this point because I don't remember like from memory. Just let me look at it. This is the transition. So you basically so it says snare. Here you just do this. Then you slap it like this, and then you sort of strum up with your index finger. All the same sound, right? It's all like very similar sounds, but all just a tiny bit different. So it sounds like a nice sort of drum fill, yeah. On a drum kit, like whatever you hit, whichever place you hit, it's gonna sound a bit different. And on the guitar it's the same. So this is all very different sounds, even though in essence, like these two are very similar, but when you play it together, clearly it's not just doing like you can hear, you know, like a dynamic difference. That's the real hard part of the track. I think after this it becomes just easier, but this, so it happens is slowly. Again, slowly. Yeah, again. Again. So, this is basically rhythmic displacement is how I would call it. So you play the same thing, but the rhythm is a bit displaced, it's moved a bit, it's a bit different. This is the first section. You can see it's like it happens in threes, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you go to the next section. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's a sort of triplet feel, triplet rhythm. And yeah, you would play it basically really slowly in the same metronome, but with the feeling of threes rather than fours. I know it's quite difficult, but this is the proper way to feel this rhythm. I can't say much here, I can just show it to you. This one section here, when I play it fast, sorry, this is very audible. It's a very cool thing to do. So you slap the guitar with your thumb, this section of your thumb, the bottom of your thumb, you slap it and play the kick, and then you immediately with your index finger strum up, and then you just tap lightly here. So I showed it on the live stream, some of you may remember it from the live stream. It's like a part of gallop strumming. Yeah. So here it's very difficult. But I mean, I can't just describe every single tiny step because that doesn't make it easier at all. You just look at this slowly. Basically here, you play the first note, just go back, first note very strong, and then it's a new section, so we change the dynamics. It's really quiet now. So you play the same thing here as before, but now with your middle finger, sorry for that, you just tap the harmonic. So if I play on the 5th fret, the harmonic is on the 17th fret, because that's 5 plus 12, so it's this hand basically just presses the fret. I do let the frets go, so I don't want it to be legato just yet. It's very staccato still. So look at my left hand. So I'm letting it go. You can hear it's like I'm not tapping here. It's just me pressing the fret and letting go, muting it. Now it's legato. Now I'm not doing anything here, just holding this bar. Yeah. You see that the movement downwards for the harmonic is a downwards movement, right? So we can do it the same way, just with the kick. Now, the aim is gonna be crucial here, because you need to aim for the right fret, the 17th. Here you need to aim for the, the 20th. Here the 18th, the 19th. So you need to aim it properly, but basically, it's all a downward movement, so this percussion can come in naturally, right? Sorry. So it's like if my hand is down, if I play the kick and it's down, and I want to play the harmonic, I can do this lever sort of movement, right, like this. So it's now this is the axis of the lever, and it goes like that, right? But if my hand is up, then I don't need to do a lever here, because there's no I don't need to move it. I will do it here, right? So it's this movement. So first it's this movement. Sorry. And now when I hit the kick on the offbeat, the lever changes to adjust my palm. It's a bit complicated when I talk about it like this. It's just when you have your hand here, it's just this movement. When your hand is here, it's just this movement. That's the gist of it. I'll give you a tip here. I don't do anything with this. This is the same as at the very beginning in this part. Play this. I'm not playing anything, any bass. You can look at my right hand. The bass is played just with tapping. So when I do this, only worry about the melody. And here, basically your right hand just does this. Don't practice like this, but I just show you what's happening. And because you should have this should be basically super easy for you. When you practice it so much, like you should practice so much, it becomes automatic. You can talk to somebody, you know, you can record a video, you can make coffee and drink it, and just keep playing this. This should be automatic, so that when you play this, it's, you know, you can actually do it because you only think about this one part, you only focus on it. This just happens so naturally. That's another way that you can basically practice playing two things at once, is that one thing is just so easy for you that you don't even think about it. You just think about one thing. You always want to think about one thing. So you either think about the whole picture at once, which is one thing, or one thing just is super simple, no thought required, and you think about the other thing. This is what I do here. So I don't think about this at all. You can see that there's no thought behind his eyes. See, look, there's nothing here. And then when I do this, then what I think about is only this. At this point, after playing it for so long, I don't think about any of these things, obviously, because it's so natural now. But at the beginning, that's what I did. I learned this super well, and only thought about this second thing. But don't practice this separately. Don't do that. The only tap of the melody is here. So basically you're tapping this. No, sorry, I can't do like this. Yeah, but whatever. It's only like, this is only a tap in the melody. Percussion is very easy. You just play the kick here, and then I want to play both the kick and snare at the same time. You can do it playing it like here. You cannot play that kick and snare. This doesn't just work. And the only, not the only, but a nice way to do it is by using your nails. So I do this with my hand, like this position, and then I just, so it's, I sort of shoot this thing out. It's both a kick and a snare on top of it. Very subtle, but it works. Slide to the 7th fret, like a very big slide, very audible slide. So before I was playing it like this, right, with my index and second finger, but now I want to play this note, this one, so I switch it up. I do this. That's the first chord, not this as before, but this. Flipped around, excuse me, and then I change it, right? So it's a hard thing to do because it's a like sort of over and under thing, but it's necessary here because I want the melody to stay, right? Could maybe like try to do this, like, or like, yeah, I played with the pinky finger, but to me it was so nice to do it with my strong index and third finger, very strong. That here, it's not that easy, so that's how I played. Before. There's a rasguiado here, subtle rasguiado. down, 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 up. Tap. And this is also why it's good to play with these two fingers, because tapping with your pinky is gonna be not as nice. I can do it. If you can, then go for it, but this is easier. And then when you go down, you hit the rim shot, right? But you also hit these strings, the bass strings, which adds more sound. This is the nice movement from flamenco. Like, this is what every flamenco player does, is this sort of, you know, like circular pow, you know. Sort of like prepare for you, you know, this is how you do it. Super difficult fragment, probably the most difficult section of the track, I think, maybe. And this is more difficult, but this is one of the most difficult. Honestly, it's sort of hard to explain because the sort of subdivisions, the basic elements are easy. You just do this, which is the kick here, right? Just like this. Then scratch on your scratch pad or whatever you have here. Then you come back with a kick and a snare. Second sort of, this was before, kick and a snare, and this is a different way to do it now. So your bottom of your thumb makes this nice sound like this. And if you play like this with your hand all nice and glued to the guitar, you get this big snare plus kick sound, right? And so, right? So now you're going to hit the melody notes all the time, like, sorry. Because when you're going down to the scratch, you can also play the strings, and this way you play the melody. But now if you play all of the strings, you're gonna sound like this, like, sorry. Which makes no sense, because you're playing everything at once. So when you are, this is very difficult, again, it's so complicated, but when you're playing the tapping here, constantly you're putting your index finger like a bar to mute all of the strings, so it's muted all the time. Like I never play any open strings, not like this. No. Just a showcase for you. Don't do this. This makes no sense. But so when you do this, it's like you only play the right notes, because here I'm holding these, and you can see my fingers here. Both of these plus this one actually are muting everything else. So I'm gonna be honest here. I mean, this is very, very difficult moment, just because most of the things they are super difficult. Basically are difficult because you don't play most of the strings. You mute everything at the same time as playing all of those notes. So it's only really a matter of practice and just looking at how to position your fingers to always be. You can see here I open it because I'm playing just this nice open string. So I can open it, I don't have to mute everything. But in general, super close. I can try to do it like this for you. Maybe this is gonna look kind of cool. You can see here I'm even holding both of these fingers, and still you can hear these notes because there's a tiny gap in between this finger when it's muting and between the string that I'm pressing down. When you press down on a string, obviously it goes lower, right? So it's a bit lower than the strings I'm muting, but there's really no way of controlling this. You just have to feel it out and practice. Strike down, right? That's what you gotta mute. Basically hold all your fingers like this and only let them go when you need to. So at first you need to let them go because you don't want to play this, right? So you let them go. Put them down here because you're gonna strum it, so you put them down, then tap here, and then you're gonna put them down again, and then you're gonna just open it up for the open string. So it's down, down, open. The most flex moment of the track, which you basically just play with one hand. And yeah, it's only, again, it's the same thing over and over again. It's just that in this case, you're playing the tapping here and you're adding your pinky your ring finger to the action here to play these notes, just tapping. And it's gonna be very difficult at first because these two fingers are the weakest fingers actually of your hand, pinky especially, but both of them. So it's only, just practice over and over in front of the TV, for instance, just watching it and doing this slowly. Notice how my pinky is like very tense here. It's really tense, and also the angle in this joint is very hard, like it's very strong, very sharp, which makes it possible for me to play audible tapping with my pinky. It's basically a very buff pinky out of all of the practice. And it's the same thing as with this, because you need to see exactly when each thing is happening relatively to the other part, right? So here it's together, then not together, right? Together, and then opposite. You notice patterns. Patterns are your friend, because you see that first it's together, the second one is also at the same time as the bass, and then you go off beat, and there is the pattern, right? Pa, 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 right? It's a nice sort of, you need to logically figure out how they slot into the right place. And then you go in answer. to the hard part, this one, but starting from this. So, like if you were continuing this transition. Hope this helps. Again, it's hard to explain these things because it's just technique, it's just sort of thinking about the combinations, but I think this should help you. Yeah, cheers.